That's good. Well, welcome back. We're at the cabin again, and it's super nice outside. It's -12 and sunny, and it's a nice warm sun too. So I'm so glad to be back. It's been a while. I've had an extremely busy winter, so I haven't really had a lot of time to get out to the cabin this year for some relaxation. It's definitely much overdue. So last night wasn't very fun getting in here. We've had a huge amount of snow since I was here last. And unfortunately the top, I don't know, inch and a half got very frozen because there's been a rain as well. And that was a bit of a pain to come in because let me tell you, breaking through the ice and down into the softer snow was just terrible coming in last night. Thankfully, I fired up the snow machine and got it going and made a track running around towards the cabin so that it's easier to walk on. And of course I got my snowshoes out now. I left my other snowshoes in the car, the other car actually, so that was really a bad decision. I realized right away my error of my ways forgetting those, but there's always something you forget, right? So anyways, just here relaxing. I'm probably gonna go check on the maple trees because thinking about tapping some maple. We'll see how it goes. I find it really hard unless you live full time by your sugar bush. It's super hard to kind of manage that and, you know, check levels of sap and start boiling and stuff like that. So, but anyway, we'll go take a look in the bush today with some snowshoes on. And I'll probably check on the trail cams and service them as well because I'm sure the batteries are long dead. See if we got anything interesting. The water's opened up a little bit, so some of the bay is unthawing, which is encouraging. But, you know, the ice is starting to get less safe by the day. You may be wondering why I have that single burner propane stove going. Well, the other one, there's a propane leak, my big stove, my 2-burner. So got to take that apart and figure out what's going on. Probably one of the O-rings is broken down or something like that. So I'm just going to have some breakfast here, finish my coffee, and we'll head out in the woods. There's the snowshoes that I have for today. Charlie's snowshoes that he made me. They're the ones I had in the other vehicle. So I've got to put these on. We're going to go for a little hike. Such a gorgeous day. I can get away with actually just wearing my little oiled leather hat. It's very nice out here. Cannot complain, let me tell you. Well, unless I was trying to walk in the snow without snowshoes, then you'd hear me complaining. So the shed door, I have an issue with it. It seems to be kind of frozen, hard to open, hard to close. So got to go work on that today. And also taking a look at seeing what's going on with the battery. Something happened and it stopped charging. And then of course now it's really, really, really low. It's an old battery, you know, easy come, easy go. We've had it for years, but now it's really not working. So got to go check it out. It's a new controller that we have in there too. So I don't know if something's malfunctioned with that. I know some of you have been asking about the pine marten house, and here it is. Don't know if there's any activity in it. I do see a lot of tracks from red squirrels, so maybe something is hanging out in there. You know, pine marten, we're really prolific around this area with the old growth forests, and since it's been logged umpteen times in the last 90 years, well, probably at least 3 times, we've got a lot of new growth, and so, you know, pine martens are in the district, but trying to lure them in to the property itself. So I bought some pine marten lure. I wanted to kind of put it around there just to attract them in, I guess. But we'll see. We'll see. It's a nice little box. It's a dual chamber nest box for them. So I'm hoping at some point in my lifetime they'll be back in this region. There are a lot of mature red pines in a stand and some crown land in the region. So I don't know, if we build it, they will come, right? So stay tuned. So I guess I should tell you guys that I will be doing a wild edibles and identification of mushrooms and some common spring plants that we see in the forest. So that's going to be happening here in Eastern Ontario in April. So I'm going to keep you all updated on where and when that's going to be. There'll be limited seating, so I'll be sure to give you guys enough advance notice. So I'm out in the woods also today to try to scout out some specimens for that talk. So I have lots of interesting things to show you guys. Well, as I'm hiking along here, take a look. We've got lots of turkey tracks, so they're out and about. Thankfully, they don't sink down into the snow. Looks like a couple of them zipping around here. So the woods are alive, even though it has been pretty chilly. And here's the first trail cam, kind of pointed downward. Look at that, no card. Oh, I guess I left it without a card. Here I am. How's the battery doing on it? Let's take a look. Oh, 84%. Impressive. Well, I've got a card so I can put that in. No big deal. Just up ahead here is some work for spring. Tree fell down earlier in the winter. You can tell there's a lot more snow on it now. I'm able to walk over it. Couldn't do that before. Probably ride the snowmobile over it too if I just cut some of the branches. That's fine. Woods are so nice and quiet, just the sound of the birds this morning. Well, I just startled a grouse actually hiking through here. They're going to start drumming really, really soon. Call them heart attack birds because when they explode out of the deep woods, you don't expect to see them. You get a little bit of a start. So I love those birds. Sometimes they get a little confused and they start drumming in the fall. But that's just because the lighting conditions are similar. Temperature's kind of similar to springtime. They don't breed or nest at that time of year, but they certainly give the good old college try, looking for the ladies here in the woods. But now is the time we're going to start to hear them drumming very soon. Well, if we look down here, you can see in contrast the smaller tracks of the grouse that I scared off. So they're much smaller than the turkey tracks, and they kind of touch toe to toe. This bird was just walking through this open area. Here I am down by the dock, and my other trail camera is almost buried by snow. You can see it right there. Lots of tracks, so animals really love coming into this open spot here, probably sitting on the dock eating. Let's go take a look at the bay. Oh, it's lovely. Interestingly enough, I don't see a ton of activity by the feed pile there for the beavers, which is just central kind of in your frame. I see a little bit of tracks there, but last year there's quite a bit of open water because they like to go in there and feed. So I don't know, maybe they've moved to a different spot here in the bay for their feed pile, possibly once their one source is exhausted. I don't know, maybe they drag the limbs off to another spot. You can see some spots where the ice has heaved a little bit right there. This is the life just out here on the ice and snow. Here, there's no top water or nastiness to walk through. I tried to do a little bit of ice fishing earlier in the week, and places I went had about 12 inches of just slop, and I didn't really, the ice underneath is good, 12 to 16 inches at least, but to try to sit down and have your feet in all that water, yuck, no thank you. So here it seems nice though. The bay, we're on a system here where it's regulated by hydro, so the bay goes up and down. So probably not a whole lot of deep ice here, enough to support me, but underneath it gets hollow. So that's another thing you got to be really careful about, is, if you end up falling through, you may end up falling down onto an empty riverbed, especially if things froze up and then the power, they just regulated the dam, and then all of a sudden the water's gone, but the top layer is frozen, you could fall through and have an accident. So gotta be very, very careful this time of year. Well, let's take a look down here. This is interesting. There we have some very interesting tracks there. It sort of heads off towards a beaver feed pile. Yep, here I am sort of by where the feed pile used to be. It's not very active. There's a few little tracks here and there, but no open water. Nothing going on. Mainly my tracks, actually. There's some of the heaving ice right there. Kind of beautiful, actually. Nature's artwork. Look at that, nice thick ice, but a huge gap in there. A little cave. Let's take a look down in there. Ooh, very nice. Hey, maybe we'll go check out the ice wall. That's gonna be pretty impressive. Let's go check it out. Pretty darn good ice wall this year, I'd say. Extends all the way that way, and I can hear it starting to melt. So that's a good sign. There's a lot of forest runoff off of this. It kind of looks like a waterfall. It sort of dries up in the summer, but there's quite a lot of runoff down here. Cedar has been holding up that ice for as long as I've been here and longer. I don't know how many of you are ice climbers, but this would be, there's a lot of areas around here that have even bigger ice flows than this. Underneath here is a lot of rock, obviously. Never done ice climbing. Sure be fun, but super dangerous. just down by the dock here, attached to this balsam fir. Look at that. It's just like an exoskeleton. So you see a little close up there of the insect, just like a little papery husk before it molted into its next form. I'll just check the trail cam there at the dock. And again, I guess I'd turn that one off too. I remembered I'd taken home a few of the SD cards to service them and format them and didn't put them back. So that's okay. We'll have lots of activity here come spring. I just got to get them all serviced and ready to go. The one Browning I have, the internal battery is not working, and so the date and the time, everything's wrong. So I want to fix that so I can get better data when I do get pictures. Be careful not to poke my eye out in here. Because the snow levels are pretty high, sometimes the sticks that I've removed from trees on my trails, now they're kind of at eye level. You can see down here, they've been kind of snapped off, but now I'm kind of contending with these guys right here. So now I've had laser eye surgery. I found that sometimes I forget to blink because I was so used to glasses as my safety net. It's one of the things I never thought of with the laser eye surgery was that, you know, my body had been trained for, you know, I don't know, 25 years not to, you know, kind of blink like that when something's coming at me. So there's a few times I've actually like poked myself in the eye with like a small stick or a twig or a piece of grass when I was bending down because I just, whatever, I didn't see it. So, or I saw it, but just didn't, my body didn't have that reflex to blink like it used to. So I really should probably wear clear kind of goggles in the woods, just like kind of clear glasses, no prescription, just to protect my eyes because they're pretty valuable right now. So anyways, got to take that into consideration when you're going through the woods. You know, I've got, 3-4+ feet of snow in here, so you're going to be up a little bit higher. And areas where you previously cleared some little twigs away might be at eye level and a hazard. Here's a tree I don't see all that often here in our woods. This is the eastern hemlock. So that's pretty interesting. They have a really short needle compared to a balsam fir. As you can see, really, really short. I'll show you a balsam fir in just a sec. So in contrast here, we have a young balsam fir, and you can see how the needles are so much longer than it. Well, now you can see what's going on with the solar panels. They've been covered in snow, and the sun's just warm enough now to melt them out. So I think what happened with the battery is that, I don't know, maybe I left a utility light on there that was powered by the battery. And of course the snow covered the panels, the solar panels, and the battery just got discharged to the point of no return. Kind of like when you leave a light on, you know, in your car and your battery's toast after a while. So, I don't know, that's a shame. Melting out pretty nicely, but that battery is going to have to get charged at home for a while and brought back. And we're going to set up a new battery system anyway. Wow, just sitting here in the sun, there's no wind in the field. It is a scorcher. I feel like it's got to be like 10 degrees in the sun. Like the boards here are really nice and warm. It feels like a scorcher out here in the field. I'm really overdressed. I've got like a t-shirt, a hoodie, and then my wool sweater that I pretty much always wear. Man, the sun is bright and it's warm. Snow's gonna melt in no time. Got the water collection system disabled. That's my black barrel that, well, the paint's coming off the top. It's still got a lot of water, and I guess I didn't drain it out last season. Oh, that's not good. Anyway, well, drain that out in the spring. It hasn't cracked, thank goodness. And we'll hook back up the collection system. Just goes off the eaves troughs there. And there's a hose that goes from here right into the barrel. So right now it's just diverting out of there. You can see here in the shower house, the controller can't even turn on because the battery's so dead. Let's just take a look at here at what we're at. Yeah, look at that. What a shame. Barely 9 volts. So I'm not really sure what happened there, but obviously the battery's completely, it's really discharged there. So it's going to have to get charged at home. I guess I could run the generator and, you know, charge it as well, but just take it home. We're probably going to do a new battery setup anyways, so now is the time to actually think a bit more about that. There's one of the lights that runs off the battery. I can't remember if I left that on or not. I really don't think so, but that could explain, if that was left on, why the battery's dead. This light that you see up here in the shower house, that one's actually powered by a solar panel outside. So if I move my arm around, and it's actually, yeah, it's not going to turn on right now because it's daylight, but when the sun goes down and you walk in front of the beam there, the light goes on. It's just powered by a mini solar panel outside. And the propane tanks that run the Martin heater, they're pretty good. One's empty and the other one's fairly full, actually. So still got lots of propane, and the heater's working very, very well. And here's the propane tank that I gave up on. That's the one that usually powers my little stove. And it's buried in the snow. So last night I just grabbed one of those little green bottle canisters of propane and used that. So I'm gonna have to take this apart. This is the it's my little 2-burner stove. I don't know what's going on. Last night I tried to fire it up and I could hear a gas noise kind of just coming back here, and I could smell the propane back here. So I gotta figure out, I think one of the there's like O-rings on various and sundry things. I think maybe one of them is not great and it's leaking propane. So that's not good. So I've been using this smaller little heater right here that I've had for a really long time. It's very dependable. And there's a little green bottles of propane I was talking about earlier, because I couldn't dig out, or I didn't want to dig my other one out late at night. Last night it was all frozen in the ground. So that's the next project, is to figure out what's going on with this unit. No, I don't have to look too far. Take a look at that O-ring. That is a hot mess. That has got to come off. You can see why the propane was kind of going in and leaking out around here and probably scooting under here and then popping up sort of through every other orifice other than where it should have been coming from. So there's my problem. That's an easy fix. I have a kit from Princess Auto that has all kinds of little O-rings in there to fix that. So here we're arriving at some of the maples. So the ones that I have flagged off there with tape, these are some red maple there. You can tap sap from any maple. Sugar maple is the best. I have a huge amount of red maple in here, but I do have some sugar. Here's a beautiful maple right here. Decent size. Of course, to make a true sugar bush in here, you want to take out all these little trees right here. Just a few I've flagged off over that way too. So you tap about chest height. I don't know if you can see any tap holes from in the past that I've done on here. You probably can't. They seal up pretty quickly. You know, I visited a maple grove, maple sugaring operation recently, and they had a big section of wood, sort of like a disc of wood of an old tree that had fallen down on the property. And they did some sections through it and showed the spots where the taps were over the years. Boy, was it amazing. The tree healed really well. And I think it was around, I forget if they said it was a 150 to 200-year-old tree. So you could actually see tap holes. The earliest one they could find was from around the 1900 time, and that was like right in, you know, near the center of the disc of wood. So that was really cool. And then of course towards the periphery was all the modern tapping of the tree. So you can see where it all healed up. You can see the wedge shapes of the taps. And now a lot of modern taps are really, really tiny. So the wound of the tree is really small. So it is a very sustainable thing to do, to tap maple trees and get the lovely maple syrup and all the maple products. It's that time of year. And how many of you guys are tapping maple trees this spring? Let me know down below in the comments. I plan on doing, you know, every year I try to do something related to maple sugaring season. So I've got a video coming up, so stay tuned. So we take a look at a modern tap here. It is pretty small, you know, very small impact on the tree. And I've just got some extra tubing right here. I usually tap into buckets. Like if I was here full time, I'd tap into the old school style metal buckets, but I'm going to use sort of 5-gallon pails and tap this just about waist height here in this maple tree that's close to the cabin. So I got my 5/16 bit in here and I've just drilled a hole. Let's take a look, see if the sap's running. Yes, success, it's running. You see that clear fluid coming out of the tree there? That is sap, so we'll get the tap in. This hole's running like crazy. This is going to be a good year. Well, I guess I better get the bucket attached in a hurry. Just some interesting tracks right there, just coming from the trees. Almost looks like some fisher tracks. So it's all set up. I've just kind of made a little juncture there, so these two go into one, and then it goes into the pail. So that's another way to collect sap, is just kind of you know, put these little lines on the trees like that, put them into a pail versus the old school metal pails, which I do have. All right, there's this big guy. Got the buckets buried in snow, just because I won't be back here for a bit and I want to kind of keep the sap refrigerated, but sap's running really well, so I'm hoping the pails will be full. Forecasted to be nice and warm, and well, warm in the day and cold at night, and that's what we need to get the sap flowing. So you can see this tree very close to the cabin. Now I do have a maple stand quite a distance from here, actually, from the cabin. It's tappable, but the accessibility is poor, and that's what you need, is accessibility if you want to pull off the sap and boil it. So maybe that's a project for this year for our Managed Forest Tax Incentive Program. So that'd be really awesome, setting up a sugar bush, but like I said, accessibility right now to that area is poor, so I think that's a project for this year. Of course, taking these snowshoes off now that I'm back at the cabin with these bindings, it's pretty easy. You just pivot your foot around, try not to fall. Just turn your foot around, and then you can see there, and basically out, and you just pull your foot out. So it's one of my favorite kind of bindings, is these rubber bindings. They last forever, and they're easy to deal with. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode here at the cabin. Hope you guys have a great week. We'll see you next time.